Hi everyone. So let's continue to discuss on JUnit 5 assumptions. And in this lecture we will discuss about assume false method. So friends, in our last lecture we discussed about assume true method. So here working of assume false method is exactly opposite to assume true method. Here assumptions API has a static utility method by name assume false. Now this method takes in a boolean condition which we assume to be false, and this method helps us in validating that the provided assumption is false. So whatever the boolean condition we have provided, here we are assuming it should be false. So if that assumption is not false, then assume false method throws test aborted exception. So here, as the method name suggests, whatever the boolean condition we are providing, we are assuming it to be false. And if the condition is false, then our test proceeds further for the execution. And if the assumption condition is true, then the test execution is aborted. So friends, in our last lecture we also discussed that assumptions are nothing but some preconditions that we provide to our test case, and if those preconditions are not satisfied, we want to skip the test case or abort the test case. So here in assume false method, we provide a boolean condition assuming it to be false, and if that boolean condition is false, then our assumption is passed and test proceeds further for the execution. But if the boolean condition provided is true, then test execution is aborted by throwing test aborted exception, and our complete test case is skipped. So friends, now let's discuss about the overloaded methods of assume false. So here the first method takes in a boolean condition, and if the boolean condition is false, because we are assuming it to be false, then our assumption will be passed and the test case will proceed further for the execution. But if the boolean condition comes out to be true, then our assumption will fail and the test case will abort. In second method, along with the boolean assumption, it takes in a string message. So this string message is our customized message which gets printed in the JUnit console whenever assume false method throws test aborted exception. That is, whenever our assumption is not satisfied. The third overloaded method takes in a boolean assumption and a supplier function interface. So this function interface gets evaluated to a string whenever our assumption is not satisfied. So the only advantage of using this supplier function interface over direct string message is that this string will be evaluated only when the test is aborted. But here this string gets evaluated every time whether our assumption is true or not. So friends, fourth assume false method is very much similar to the first. So instead of boolean assumption, it takes in a functional interface by name boolean supplier. So this functional interface simply provides a boolean assumption. Fifth assume false method is very much similar to second, with the only difference is instead of boolean assumption, here we are using the function interface boolean supplier. The sixth assume false method is also very much similar to third. So instead of the boolean assumption, we are simply providing boolean supplier function interface, and the second parameter in both the methods remains the same. So in the fifth it is string message, and in the sixth it is supplier function interface. So friends, now let's go to Eclipse and see the demonstration of assume false method.